Stephen Fry's stage mishap. Welcome to Mark and Pete. Yes, a national treasure trips over and suddenly the floor itself is in the dock. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Clumsy performance. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts. But if he falls off the stage, his credibility soon departs. Well, indeed, yes, Sir Stephen Fry has sued the organisers of a tech conference where he was injured when he fell off the stage after making a speech. Now, this extraordinary incident has meant that Mr. Fry himself has actually broken many bones. Now, Mr. Pete, I know that you've been a man who's been very familiar with speaking in public, but you haven't fallen from grace in this way. What say you about this incident?
Well, Mr. Mark, no, I normally manage to make myself onto and off the platform or the pulpit without any mishap. In fact, I've been up the steps on some quite rickety pulpits in my time and never
Yes, with your
fallen.
rickety legs.
Indeed. But, I do recognize, however, that when you're in the moment, you're focusing on the performance of your or presentation of your act or lecture, whatever you're doing, or sermon, and you're not focusing on going down the steps properly. I understand that problem, but I think you do need to be aware of your surroundings and just train yourself to be aware. Having done a little bit of acting, as Stephen Fry has himself, stage acting gives you that necessity of being able to focus on both. So you would have thought, I'm surprised that Stephen Fry, would be surprised rather if Stephen Fry were at fault for this. It may well be then, that being the case, that he has done quite a bit of acting. I was underplaying him, and I said earlier, on stages. In fact, I've been to see him. He was in a performance in the West End a few years back, and he didn't fall off the stage once, not even once, which would have,
No.
to be honest, have improved the performance. But that's another matter. But I think that it may well be that there was some problem with the setup where he was actually performing or presenting.
Yes.
So it may well be that he has a case if he wants to bring it against the organisers.
Well, indeed. Now, the broadcaster and author, as he is, actor, as you say, said that he broke his leg, hip, pelvis, and a bunch of ribs, etc. And he's taking the particular event organisers, COG-X convention at the O2 Arena, to court. Now, he's suing them for £100,000 in damages. There's a lot of money. But accepting that, of course, he has injured himself. He fell basically 6 feet onto solid concrete. So I can understand what's happened here. But you're right. It is a bit strange, isn't it, that he didn't do like a prep call or didn't see where his mark was, effectively, where an actor would go to a plinth or they'd go to a point on the stage and they would have that spatial awareness. So who's really at fault here? Is it him and that he just simply forgot himself in the moment and then just wandered off in the wrong direction? Or is it actually the organisers who perhaps maybe should have had something but clearer as a barrier? I mean, I know we don't actually know the full logistics here, but who do you think is culpable here?
Well, yeah, did he do a Joe Biden is what you're asking. I mean,
Yes, quite.
the Bible says, Proverbs 19 verse 3, a person's own folly leads to their ruin, yet their heart rages. And it could be something like that his anger is really at his own stupidity, but he can't admit it to himself. That's a possibility. But it does seem that even if there is a possibility of making a 6-foot fall onto concrete, there should have been something
Yes.
in the way preventing that happening, not just simply guidance or a sign saying, don't fall here. That's not good enough, really.
Quite.
It needs to be impossible to fall. There needs to be an actual barrier in place if you're going to hold an event like that with such a huge drop. I mean, if it were a member of the public, let alone someone who's been invited to speak, you would expect those measures to be put in place. And if someone did fall, they'd be held liable. So I think whether or not we decide, well, he was a bit silly, he should have been more aware of his surroundings, and he should at least have made sure he knew the way and the way on and the way off of the podium. Uh, I think the fact that he could fall means that they are liable.
Well, indeed. Now, the lawyers who are representing Sir Stephen Fry said it's very unfortunate that court proceedings were necessary, but the defendants do not accept Sir Stephen's accounts of events, and we have to have had to ask the court to determine who is responsible for injury and losses. Now, in this particular case, it's very unfortunate for Stephen Fry, but he's not the first person to do it. Sir Ian McKinnon actually fell off during a Shakespearean performance on the stage and landed on a woman's lap, causing her much distress. It is
Indeed.
extraordinary that this isn't, as I said, uncommon. So I wonder whether maybe that it's just the actor lost in the moment,
Well,
or is that really what's happening? Because
well,
both been on a stage, when you get those lights in front of you, sometimes you're sort of absorbed in the moment, in the atmosphere, and then suddenly you find yourself on the
yeah,
floor
I
back.
could see. Yes, I agree. That's what I was sort of talking about earlier. But even though you've done quite a bit of acting, that could take over. You're being in the moment, as you put it, so that you're not quite as aware of your surroundings. And I have to say that even what I was saying before was like the legal position. If they didn't have a barrier, then it could be shown that they were liable. Um, but it's not necessarily mean it's the right thing that they can be liable. I mean, what came to just accepting that there are reasonable risks, normal, ordinary risk. If I walk the wrong way, I might fall off fall off and hurt myself, but it's my fault.
Yes.
Where is that acceptance of risk? It does seem that we're in a sort of safety hidebound culture. We don't accept that there's any risk to anything. We just can't accept it. No, I mean, people are very embarrassed, I think, these days that people actually die at all.
Well, it's
It
quite.
does happen. You fall off the edge of life and you're dead. You can't sue anyone then, can you, unless it's God?
I'm afraid that's true. Well, look, I know that many people maybe listening to the podcast were actually there live watching this happen. But I would say to Stephen Fry, obviously, we wish him a speedy recovery. But the next time that you decide to become a stuntman in your your performance, be careful what type of role that you're going for, because you never know. That stage just might have a trapdoor.